Thank you very much, Mr Chairman. And part 3, as speakers have previously said, relates to food imported for the purpose of sale. And reading through all the clauses here, they basically refer to administration and administrative requirements, and not much of it actually refers to the food itself. And it perhaps is part of the design, but given the absence of country of origin labelling, the assumption will be that when it comes into the country that it is safe. Nothing in Part 3 actually specifies that clearly. There is an assumption, of course, that the food must not be, or, quote, the food imported can be suspended, or the person importing can be suspended or have their licence suspended if the food imported by the importer may pose a risk to human life or public health, there has been serious failure of the operations, or there have been other matters cast doubt the safety and suitability of the food. That's in clause 113, 1, A and B. That's the almost the sole reference to the food itself. The rest of the provisions here relate to the registration of individuals and what they must do, the chief executive's requirements around that, their ability to refuse to register, etc., etc. Let's come back to the heart of the matter, Mr Chairman, and that is imported food. Is it safe? Now, we as a country exporting food, and all the growers, all the people involved, have to meet very high standards to export food from this country. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for all other countries importing or exporting food to us. And so we are reliant on systems, and we have some authority within our own country, but have very little authority in other countries to ensure that their systems are robust. And there are big issues around biosecurity, none of which are referenced in this particular part of the food bill. And the ministers may say, well, that's not necessary. I, however, think that there is, and we perhaps, while the committee has kicked these things around, there are still questions, and I don't think any piece of legislation is perfect. We are learning every single day in this area of trade. And its importance to us. We import things like pork from Canada, where PRRS is endemic, and there's a real risk of biosecurity, not direct food safety as such, but it certainly does affect, or has the potential to affect, our food systems in this country, because PRRS leads to ill health in pigs, and that inevitably leads to, at times, slaughter of animals that are not appropriate for human consumption. And so in importing pork from Canada, we have to trust their system to deliver us pork from healthy pigs. And that is an issue of trust, and one that is not always delivered on, I have to say, from other countries. Garlic, for example, we import garlic, believe it or not, bizarre as it is. And as was found in a garlic clove in a house in Nelson, an onion fly, a real pest for this country, obviously coming in larvae form, and was part of a biosecurity risk, but did question the systems of delivering to us as an importing country safe, healthy and certified food, because it was supposed to be certified clear of all biosecurity risks, just as it would have to be certified as healthy food. If there's a systems failure for one thing, there can be systems failure for other things. We import a huge amount of meat into this country, a lot of it through Progressive, the Australian supermarket chain, I have to say, Countdown and the like. They are importing meat out of Australia. We assume that is safe meat, although the Australians have been known to export kangaroo meat as beef before. And while I don't want to challenge the Australians directly, there are other countries exporting food to us And I think we need to double-check their systems. And, Mr Chairman, thank you very much. And the ability in Part 3 of the bill here for the Director General to cease registration of any importing body or company or individual is essential. The Chief Executive may do that. But I hope that the powers that we've offered through this part of the bill are extensive enough to say to someone where, for example, the garlic imported into this country delivered a real biosecurity risk, then that allows us to go back to that importer and to cease imports immediately until the importer can prove that their systems are robust. Now, I have to say that we have, as opposition, challenged the Minister to halt imports where we have identified biosecurity risks, and the government has been reluctant to do that, saying, oh, no, things are okay, we don't want to upset our trade people in our negotiations. Well, sometimes we're going to have to harden up. Sometimes we're going to have to make a call and suspend an importer's licence immediately if we think there's a biosecurity risk, or in this case here, a food safety risk. We've been reluctant to do that as a country. We've been reluctant, and I think we have to take a tougher stance in this area. Mr Speaker, as I say, country of origin labelling would better enable consumers to identify that food which is imported and in their minds might carry a higher risk, and the food that is produced in New Zealand, where we believe should be of lower risk, particularly in the area of food safety. We pride ourselves in our systems, but the government is not prepared to pride itself.
Sorry to interrupt the honourable member. The time has come for me to leave the chair for the dinner break. This debate is interrupted. I shall resume the chair at 7:30.